So down here in Furnace Creek is the ranch. I may have mentioned it. And if you come in here and you go straight down that road is the Borax Museum. So let's go take a look. Good morning, YouTube. Well, today I'm going to check out the Borax Museum. This building right here was constructed in 1883 by F.M. Borax Smith, founder of the Pacific Coast Borax Company. It's the oldest house in Death Valley. It originally stood in 20 Mule Team Canyon, and it was office, bunkhouse, ore checking station, and so on. It was moved here in 1954 to serve as a museum, and all the exhibits are outside, so we're going to go around the corner and check it out. So I might as well start with the safe. This is a fireproof safe. It's lined, it looks like one of the doors is missing, but it was lined with fire brick, and I'm pretty sure it'd be hard to break into this, but hey, I'm not an outlaw. What do I know? Now this is a 225 horsepower diesel engine. It was used to provide power here at the ranch back in 1936, and it's a little bit bigger than the one on my bus, just a little. Well, when you got to make do, you come up with some ingenious ways to do things. It's a handmade ore cart from about 1890s, and this was a hydraulic classifier. It's used to separate out the fine stuff, and I'm not sure how it works. But and next to it is a cart for transporting workers along on the railroad. Got a few more ore carts here, a little bit more sophisticated than the handmade jobbers, and quite the collection of a stagecoach without the canvas, and of course another style too, and then you got your buckboard wagons, and then a remodeled farm wagon was actually used here at the ranch. Now, we've seen this type of thing before. It's a logging wheel. I mean, huge. These chains down in here would have been used to hook onto the logs, and using the leverage, be able to lift one end up, hook this end up to a cart pulled by however many mules, oxen, horses, whatever you needed to haul logs down from the mountains down here for, you know, where they were needed. So once you use those big log wheels to get the lumber down to where you want to transport it, you would need a cart. You're not going to drag them many miles through the mountains. From the mountains, this is a logging cart. At first, it looked like they were stone wheels, but they are actually tightly packed wood. So at first I thought maybe it was one big massive chunk of a tree, but if you look, you got grain going this direction, you got grain going this direction. So this is lots and lots of pieces probably hammered in there. Grain going multiple directions is going to give it a little bit more strength. And there's your brake shoes. Definitely going to want that coming down out of the mountains with a big load of logs. So anybody of a certain age, say like me, might remember the TV show Death Valley Days. If you don't remember it, look it up. It was a Western hosted by, what was his name? Ronald Reagan. And it was sponsored by 20 Mule Team Borax. And there was a scene in the opening where they show the 20 mules pulling this type of load. You got a tanker with water at the back, two big carts, and they They would haul the borax from here 165 miles in 10 days, and the borax weighed 24 tons, but you add all of this together and it weighed 36.5 tons, which is why you needed 20 mules. And why mules? Why not horses? From what I understand, mules don't need as much water as horses, and that was pretty much why they were chosen. Oxen, a lot slower. So 20 mule team borax, that's what made this area profitable with mining and the TV show, Death Valley Days. Look it up. So how'd you feed those mules? You got to feed them every day, and they're not hauling the feed with the big wagon, but they had this. There's a feed wagon, and there's looks like 9 or 10 rings to tie the mules to it. They could have filled it up with feed, and they had the station along each of the spots where they would stop for the day. And I'm sure there's a whole other couple crews and nothing but hauling feed down to the right spots. Get a closer look. This would have been the gear for hauling the water on the 20 mule team, and this is what the undercarriage looks like on the big boxes. Pretty massive wheels on these things. Now in the 1890s, they were really getting into steam, so you had this steam tractor, and they used this to replace those 20 mules, and they later was used and abandoned on the Betty Keene mine in Death Valley. So they used it for until something else better came along. But I figure this would have been a loud contraption, and I don't know if you can see the bullet holes up there. I'm guessing when it was abandoned, people used it for target practice. That's quite the beast of a steam track. And my guess, that would have been the firebox. This might have been the where the water and the steam to power this beast. So this is steam engine number 2, and it was used between 1915 and 1927, and used it to transport the borax ore from the mine up to Death Valley Junction. It's a narrow gauge, so it wouldn't work on today's railroads, but still cool. If you remember from our visit to Lawrence Welk's birthplace, and this fact that his father was a blacksmith, and they showed how to shoe the oxen. Well, that's what this is. It would basically put the oxen, use the chains, lift them right up off the ground, tie their legs so they couldn't move, and shoe them. Probably was a very traumatic experience for the oxen. But along with that, you got a few blacksmith and things around here. You got the bellows, a worn out forge. So what do you do if you're mining in the desert and you got no water to wash the ore? You got this. It's a dry scraper or dry washer. The bigger chunks would go across, finer would go through. You're shaking it and it'll come down through and finer screens, and the little cleats there would hopefully catch the heavier flakes of gold. So you got ore, you need to crush it. you don't have the means to have a mechanical crusher, which is like what we saw in the last video up in Ashford Mills, well, we saw the ruins. So what do? Well, Mexican miners that came up here came up with an idea, and they did it this way. Basically, got big heavy stones, and they call it a gold aristra, and you basically put the ore in here and just drag the big heavy stones around, and it would be powered by a water wheel. Pretty ingenious and somewhat low tech. So here's a one stamp crusher. Just the one thing, pounding the ore as it fed through, and I think it fed it down through here and it'd come out there. Mechanical, step up from the Aurora. So here's a little mine locomotive to haul the ore up out of the mines. You can imagine breathing in the stone dust all the time. Now you're breathing in exhaust from the internal combustion engine. But then you got the ore cart that was hauling. It's a side dump. But the easier way to load it than shoveling by hand would have been having this conveyor hauled behind, and then instead of shoveling on the conveyor, you got this homemade mucking machine. Basically, you shovel it in there, and that conveyor takes it up to the bigger conveyor that loads the ore cart. Well, I think that's going to end my visit here to the Borax Museum. It's interesting at how they did the mining here, and like I said, I watching Death Valley Days and seeing a thing about the 20 mule team, hauling the borax out of here. Always wondered more about it. Now I know some. I can't imagine working here back in the day with the temperatures that back then at one day got up to 135 degrees, which is the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth anywhere. It's I forget when it was done, but it was back in the 1800s, and it has not been broken yet. So I'm glad I'm here now, and I'm gonna get on the road in the morning, and we're gonna go explore that end of the valley. So see you later, YouTube. So it doesn't rain here very often, but when it does, they have a different kind of downspout, which is sort of cool. It's these little cups that are all hooked together, leading from the gutter down. Sort of cool. If I ever have a sticks and bricks house, I might have to do something like that.